Mood. Okay. I got a lot of stories for you guys. We make a lot of big ones. We make a lot of little ones. Trump has announced, or the CBO has announced the score for how many people will be kicked out of in the insurance rolls by Donald Trump's and the Republican proposal. I'm going to have that for you a little bit later in the hour because I want to give you a full analysis of it. There's some upsides and downsides to it. You're not going to be surprised to find out, mainly downsides. Trump is getting cozy with dictators. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. Before we get started, though, I know that they're going to tell you more about this in the second hour, but I'm a little excited, so I just wanted to break the news to you guys. So you know we won the Webbies. You don't know that. Some of you do, but most of you don't. It's okay. That happened a little while ago. We won the People's Voice Award for News and Politics. Not a big deal. It's, I think, our fourth win in that category. By the way, that's all you guys. That's audience voting. The Academy keeps seeing you guys crush everyone else and go, oh, maybe not. Anyways, Shorties, get a load of this. We won Best Overall YouTube Presence. That's not news. That's not politics. That's overall, all of YouTube. Sorry. Boom. By the way, Audience Award. Of course! If the other shows are so much bigger, how come they're not winning? Interesting. Okay. Anyways, but now that's the Webbies and Shorties. Now we got the Streamies. We've been nominated. We're going to need your help. They're going to tell you how to do it in the second hour, okay? But Young Turks overall, social video, and subject, news and culture. You're not surprised by that nomination, but it's great. It's wonderful to have it every year. It's just great stuff. But the reason I'm all excited is we have one of our hosts. I think this is only the second host ever nominated for an award. I think I won Best Host one year. I'm not saying anything. Best web host overall on the planet, but I haven't said a word. Okay. Get a load of this. WokeBed. Hassan Piker. Nominated for Breakout Creator on Facebook. Damn! Who's woke now? Who's woke now? Go get him, Woke Bay. Nice job. Nice job. Okay. So, that's exciting stuff. The first story we have for you is even more exciting and even better news. I love delivering this kind of news, so let's do it. Now, we were told that Sheriff Clark, who is an odious man, might wind up at the Department of Homeland Security. We were told that by Sheriff Clark. He came out in the press. I thought it was ill-advised, coming out going, oh, yeah, I'll tell you what it is. Member of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, this is a guy that, as sheriff in Milwaukee, had 4 different people die in his prisons in just 6 months last year alone. Now, I've told you a lot about 2 of those folks. One died of dehydration, died of thirst, because they cut off the water in his cell for 7 days and wouldn't give him water, and he died of thirst. It's unbelievable. Every time I say this story, I can't believe that happened in America. And then one was an infant. A woman had gone in 8 months pregnant to prison, and when she was delivering, they refused to get her medical help, and she tried to deliver it by herself, and the baby died. So Sheriff David Clark is as bad a human being as you could find in America, and of course, ironically, he keeps talking about law and order. Well, here's some good news. Talking Points memo reporting, Clark claimed on May 17th that he had been offered a job at Department of Homeland Security, but the department posted on his Twitter account the same day that senior positions are announced when made official by the Secretary. No such announcement with regard to the Office of Public Engagement has been made. So right away there was a little bit of like, that's what he says, but Department of Homeland Security does not confirm that at all. Now all of a sudden he's going on other programs and saying, maybe it won't be me. Oh yeah. Yummy for my tummy. Go ahead. Give me your tears, Sheriff David Clark. Go ahead.
Did you expect all of this to this degree?
Yes, I did. I really did. You know, I'm in that realm now, and I realize that, you know, that you get into situations where you become a target because you're effective, and you're being effective. That's what this is about. What CNN and the left and that cabal is trying to do is weaken the White House and President and Secretary Kelly's confidence in me. And they're also trying to send a message to others. Don't think about working for this administration. Don't think about being a supporter, because the same thing will happen to you. I can be an example, if nothing else, that you can stand up to these bullies on the left. You can get through this. And right now, it's you know, they're carpet bombing now.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm such a victim. I'm such a special little snowflake. They're targeting me. Oh, are they, David Clark? Now, funny enough, there's a couple of small controversies that I didn't even cover for you guys, because I think they pale in comparison to those real crimes. But CNN reported that he had done plagiarism on a thesis. Oh, cool! That guy wrote a thesis? Okay, anyway, 47 different instances of it. But I really do think it's minor. I don't think it's that big a deal. He didn't put quotes around things he should have put quotes around. I know people make a big deal out of that, but I'm being fair here. That's not why I would stop any appointment of his. He wears outfits that look like military outfits. He's never served in the military. Of course, the veterans are starting to get mad at him. But again, that's, to me, is not the main problem. The main problem is people keep dying in his jails in unbelievable circumstances. He should be held responsible for those. I think he should be charged for those crimes. Those are way, way worse infractions, let alone the quotes I'm going to give you in a second. But first, since those tears were so yummy, let's get some more.
Are you going to be part of the administration? Do you think that any of this garbage is going to stick, or do you think the president will stand firm with his choice to work with you?
Well, you know, like I said, who knows? You know, and I say that sincerely because, you know, I'm in a political environment. Sometimes political decisions are made. President Donald Trump has to do what's, you know, in the best interest of his administration. Right? And I mean, they've cut people loose before. I don't know why. So, you know, time will tell. But, you know, I know that he values loyalty. We'll see how this goes. But Donald Trump, President Trump, he's not going to lose confidence in me, regardless of what he has to do.
Right.
And I will never abandon this guy. The left needs to know this today. I will never abandon this guy, regardless of what he or General Secretary Kelly decide. I will never abandon these guys. I don't do that.
I love this. Okay. They cut people loose sometimes. I don't know. Oh, did you get some news? Sometimes they cut people loose. And then he says, but he values loyalty, so I will now suck up to him. Oh, no matter what happens, I'm going to love Secretary Kelly, and I'm going to get on my knees for Donald Trump. I want everybody to know that. You beta. You cuck. Oh, it's so tough when you've got somebody in your prisons and there's nothing they can do about it. Then you love abusing them when they have no power, right? But the minute there's a guy with power, you're on your knees just like that. Okay, so let's not forget who Sheriff David Clarke is. And now, if you give him any degree of power, he loves to kick down as he kisses up. So remember this. He said about people that he thinks might be committing treason against us. Now, is that real treason adjudicated by the courts or discovered by intelligence communities? No. People that Sheriff David Clarke thinks are not sufficiently loyal enough to the government. He says we should scoop them up, charge them with treason, and under habeas corpus, detain them indefinitely at Gitmo if he thinks you're working with the enemy. Do you have any idea how dangerous it would be to give this guy real power on a national level? And, well, okay, I mean, Sheriff David Clarke, are you talking about 4 or 5 guys that might be working with ISIS? Maybe, oh my God, 3 dozen guys that you somehow magically found that were in the middle of plotting something and nobody knew, but Sheriff David Clarke's on the scene and you figured it out? No. Listen to the scope. He says, we have no idea how many people out there have pledged allegiance or are supporting ISIS, giving aid and comfort. But I would suggest hundreds of thousands. I would suggest maybe 1 million. There's 1 million people in the country who have pledged aid to ISIS? No, there isn't. That's 1 million political opponents that you would like to lock up forever without habeas corpus, which is as unconstitutional as anything you could possibly imagine. Put them away in Gitmo and create a political gulag. We're talking about plagiarism? That's the... No. Screw putting quote marks around something. This guy is enormously dangerous on the substance. He shouldn't come anywhere near power. In fact, I think he should be prosecuted for how he dealt with those prisons. But it looks like he might not make it into the Department of Homeland Security after all, so that's wonderful. So the only way this news gets better is you might be wondering, wait, what is Joel Lieberman doing on your sidebar over there? I got more good news. Now, this is Politico. Administration sources have previously described former Senator Joe Lieberman as the leading prospect for the high-profile job of head of the FBI. But he ran into resistance from Democrats who questioned the wisdom of installing a former politician as FBI director, particularly as the agency grapples with a politically sensitive probe into possible ties between Russia and Trump's presidential campaign. Lieberman is no longer considered the front runner, an official said. Well, look, man, if those two do not make it into power, it is a great day in America. I couldn't pick 2 worse people to have any real power in this country. And by the way, on Lieberman, he works at the law firm who represents Donald Trump. You mean him, FBI director, is preposterous. So, if in fact these stories are true and Clarke and Lieberman don't make it into the government, great day in America. Couldn't happen to worse, guys. Wonderful news.
I listened to the full, back to Sheriff Clarke, sorry, 15 to 20 minutes of him talking and complaining and crying. So there was aspects, I think he even mentioned at one point, he said the CNN reporters are threatening me, they're trying to threaten me and intimidate me. Coming from the guy who was all about intimidation tactics when he's running his jail. Also the same guy, because I'm sure we didn't forget about the story, getting off an airplane during the playoffs, NFL playoffs, wearing a Cowboys hat, and he's going back to Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and a guy who was a Green Bay Packers fan just shook his head at him in the airport. Had his bullies come and detain the guy for shaking his head at him because he's wearing a hat from another NFL team. Now imagine some real thing happened, but this guy's up for potential position with the Department of Homeland Security. But he's detaining people at airports for shaking their head because of his fake fanfare for a different team.
That might be also why he's trying to get the hell out of Milwaukee and get a national gig. Because if you're detaining Packers fans in Milwaukee for being Packers fans, you ain't going to last long there, let alone the people who died in your prisons. And JR makes a great point. All of a sudden, that guy, for wearing the wrong jersey, becomes an enemy of the state. I mean, he became an enemy of the state in that airport for that second. You trust that guy to make the right judgment calls? Are you kidding me? All right. Let's move on though to interesting news. I call it bad news, but we're kind of used to it now with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was talking to the leader of the Philippines, that's Duterte, and Duterte's got a horrible track record in vigilante justice, and there's been thousands of people killed in his so-called war on drugs, let alone all the other atrocious things that he has said, some of which I'll give you here in a second. But now we have the transcript of their call. This one not leaked in the U.S., but by the Philippines, and it's not pretty if you're a rational human being. Probably Donald Trump's proud of it. But Trump calls Duterte and tells him, I just wanted to congratulate you because I am hearing of the unbelievable job on the drug problem. Many countries have the problem. We have a problem. But what a great job you're doing. I just wanted to call and tell you that. Okay. First of all, I can't get over the fact that he sounds like a child in every single conversation. We have a problem. You have a problem. You're doing a great job, an unbelievable job, a wonderful job. So let's find out what kind of job he's doing. Huffington Post explains Duterte's violent anti-drug offensive that has killed an estimated 9,000 people, including many small-time users and dealers. By the way, to give you some context into that, roughly half are killed by police. It's not, hey, brought to justice, brought to jail, and then go through a trial and executed for horrible crimes or giant drug deals. No, they just shoot him in the street. Shoot him in the head, kill him, and then send him away. And half are killed by vigilantes. So he's unleashed these lawless vigilantes throughout the Philippines to murder people that might or might not be drug dealers or users. Or maybe just their enemies in a turf war. They're vigilantes. Nobody's keeping track. That's what Donald Trump thinks is a wonderful job in the war on drugs. He just want to call him and tell him that. Oh, you're murdering people in the streets. I love it. And he does, because he's authoritarian. Trump never believed in the American principles. He believes that there should be a strong man. He should get to fire anyone he wants. He shouldn't have to follow the law. And he's before talking about how, there's people we think are terrorists, we should kill their family members. That's the kind of guy Donald Trump is. So this is a quote, by the way, confirmed by the government of the Philippines and not denied by the U.S. government. So this call did happen, and these quotes appear to be accurate based on that. I like this portion of the story. They say that when he said that, of course, there's other people listening on the American side, not for spy reasons, because they're taking notes on our relationship and said they work at the White House, they work for Donald Trump. But those guys were, quote, they were surprised White House staffers. But how can you be surprised anymore by anything this guy says? But they're on the phone, they're listening, okay, all right, we got a great call here with the leader of the Philippines, got to be a little bit careful, this guy's a maniac. And Trump comes like, you're fantastic, way to kill all those people in the streets. You're doing awesome. People are like, oh, Jesus Christ, here he goes again. That's not in your notes. Nobody wrote in your notes. You're doing a fantastic job of murdering 9,000 people in the streets. Okay. But that's the real Donald Trump. Hey, and you Trump voters out there, he tells it like it is. He likes to murder people in the streets. Yeah, he tells it like it is. Remember when he said I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and my supporters wouldn't blink? They'd continue to support me? I hope that was a metaphor. Oh, okay. Now we'll move back to the Huffington Post on how bad Duterte's reign has been. He has drawn widespread condemnation from human rights groups, which have accused Duterte of condoning a lawless drug war that has terrorized the nation with a campaign of extrajudicial killings carried out by vigilantes and police officers. Duterte has seemingly embraced this barbaric conviction, comparing himself with Adolf Hitler on a mission to kill millions of drug addicts, not people who are selling drugs, people who are using drugs. He made a Hitler comparison positively to himself. He said, I would like to be like Hitler. Oh, you're doing a wonderful job. Oh, great job. The staffers are, of course, oh, come on, man. The guy said he'd like to be Hitler. Oh, wonderful. Oh, I just want to call you and tell you, great job. I'm not trying to be like Hitler. Now, does he really understand what he's doing, though? Well, Trump also said on the call, I understand that and fully understand that, and I think we had a previous president who did not understand that, but I understand that, and we have spoken about this before. Duterte had called Obama son of a bitch. because Obama actually thought maybe you shouldn't murder people in the streets. And apparently Donald Trump understands that because he told us 8 times in a row right there, right? And telling him, don't worry about it, man. Go kill. Obama's gone. New sheriff in town. New sheriff says murder people in the streets. America no longer cares about human rights. Okay. Michael Collins, who is Deputy Director for Drug Policy Alliance, says, "It fills me with disgust to see the U.S. president congratulate someone who has overseen the massacre of thousands of his own people in the name of the war on drugs." Hey, libertarians who voted for Donald Trump, how you feeling now? Oh, yeah, man, he's going to be great. Don't worry. No, he's a reasonable guy. He's not like the Republicans. War on drugs. Jeff Sessions is on a war path. He's just increased the war on drugs substantially. And he says he might even go into the states that have legalized it anyway. And now you got the president calling people who are massacring even drug users and congratulating them. Good job, libertarians. Really well played. One last thing, not having to do the war on drugs. Donald Trump, once again, couldn't help himself. And in the middle of the discussions, started telling them where our military is and what they're headed to do. Why are you telling the leader of another country where our ships are? Why are you doing that? So he said on the call, we have a lot of firepower over there, referring to the waters in Asia near North Korea. He said, we have 2 submarines, the best in the world. We have 2 nuclear submarines. Not that we want to use them at all. I've never seen anything like they are, but we don't have to use this. But he could be crazy, so we'll see what happens. Referring to Kim Jong-un, a name, of course, he's not familiar with. He refers to them as this gentleman, because he doesn't know his name at all. Okay. I think other foreign leaders know we have the best submarines in the world. It is not news to them. But he's like a child. Somebody described the submarines to him. He's like, I'm going to tell them where they are. They're by North Korea, and they're the best submarines in the world. Did you know how good our submarines are? They're amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Of course you've never seen anything like our nuclear submarines. Where else would you see that? Child, through and through, and a petulant, angry, dictatorial child. So when he sees Duterte, he sees a role model. Okay, now, continuing our tour of dictators that Donald Trump has empowered, we go to Bahrain. So recently, obviously, Donald Trump was in Bahrain as part of his overall foreign policy trip. And guess what happened right afterwards? Well, Huffington Post reports, days after President Donald Trump praised U.S. ties with Bahrain and vowed to mend any strain in the country's relationship, the Gulf state launched a violent security raid that led to the death of 1 protester and dozens of arrests. That's curious timing. I wonder why they decided to do it right after Trump came in and said hello. What did Trump tell them that led them to believe that they could now murder protesters? Let's find out. Bahrain's suppression of human rights and violent put-down of protests has created tensions with the U.S. in the past. Former President Barack Obama's administration advocated for reforms and restricted some arms sales. Now, look, Obama, to me, had not done nearly enough on this count. But we still deal with these dictatorial governments in the Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and all the others. We still sell them arms. Obama just tweaked that a little bit so that they wouldn't murder as many protesters in the streets, let alone targeting the Shiites in their country. Trump comes in and goes, don't worry about it, man. Do whatever the hell you want. In fact, here, I'll give you his quote. He said, our countries have a wonderful relationship together, but there's been a little strain. But there won't be strain with this administration. So he gave him the green light. He said, don't worry, our arms sales will not be connected to your human rights record at all anymore. Let me give you more details. In late March, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson decided to waive human rights conditions on the sale of F-16 fighter jets to Bahrain. So all we done was, hey, you're going to get the F-16s, and you're going to get to kill people, don't worry. And don't worry, you will remain the dictator of Bahrain. But we're just saying, hey, just be a little careful in how many people you oppress and murder while keeping your reign, and you'll still get the F-16s. But it's small conditions. Rex Tillerson and Trump come in, they're like, no conditions. Murder anyone you like. I got it. You're called king. You're a dictator. It's fine. I just want to make money, and I don't mind you doing that anyway. killing Shiites. What do I care? Tell whoever the hell you like, King Hamad bin Isa al Khalifa. What happened to the whole thing? I don't like Muslims, and we got to make sure they're dangerous. Don't come into the country until we figure out what's going on, right? But all of a sudden, you're bound to every Muslim king out there. Oh, King Hamad bin Isa al Khalifa. Do anything you like. Okay? Human Rights Watch issued a statement following Tuesday's raid in Bahrain, saying that the timing of the operation 2 days after Trump's friendly meeting can, quote, hardly be a coincidence. And this is not the only area where he has empowered dictators. During Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia last weekend, he praised the Saudi airstrike campaign in Yemen that has killed thousands of civilians. He praised it and complimented Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for doing, quote, a tremendous job. Al-Sisi took over in a coup, which of course Donald Trump doesn't know, and has oppressed his people and used considerable force to do that, and has imprisoned people who are against him. Either Trump doesn't know that, or more likely he does know it and thinks not that it's okay, but that it's a tremendous job. So if you're a dictator anywhere in the world, Donald Trump is here and he's got your back. If you think this is what America's about, okay. That's not what all the rest of us signed up for. We thought America was a shining city on a hill. We didn't want a goon out there going all throughout the world, empowering dictators to take the gloves off and do whatever they want to protesters or drug users or anything along those lines. And he's just given them the green light. Have at it, Hoss. Kill and oppress anyone you like. Sickens me that he's our representative. Okay. Now, from the Gulf, we go to the Vatican, where he met with the Pope. This was a little lighter. Okay. President Trump is at the Vatican. He's going to meet with the Pope, which could be a little awkward because they've said things about each other that were not that great. The Pope said, according to Reuters, last year, a man who thinks about building walls and not bridges is, quote, not Christian. That was a sharp reprimand for Trump's vow to build a wall along the U.S. border with Mexico. Now, that's as harsh as the Pope gets, but that message was clear. And how did Trump respond? Well, of course, classy, because he's talking about the Pope. Classy. Has never been classy in his life. He called the Pope's comments, quote, disgraceful. And then he went on to say, if and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which, as everyone knows, is ISIS's ultimate trophy. I'm not sure we do know that. Anyway, I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president. Well, lucky for the Pope, yes, Donald Trump is president. And he has been president for 4 months. That's why there are no more terrorist attacks. Well, right, there's still a lot of terrorist attacks, including Manchester. I thought that it was all going to magically go away. Anyway, the Pope finally got to meet him. And let's see if he is, in fact, grateful that Donald Trump is president. Here's a picture from their meeting. No, doesn't look grateful. Like a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it also lies. But in that snapshot in time, the Pope does not look overly pleased. Okay. Trump looks like the Joker, and the Pope looks like he's been kidnapped. It's like a hostage video. Okay, yeah. Why so serious? Now, again, full context, to be fair to Donald Trump, yes, I'll even be fair to Donald Trump. That was, in the beginning, the Pope apparently kept it very short, shorter than he normally does with other heads of state. But when they had their private meeting for 30 minutes, he came out and he actually did smile a little bit. Okay, giving you full context. But that picture was awesome. Okay, now let's go to the substance of what happened with the Pope. Okay. So Donald Trump is visiting the Vatican. He's meeting the Pope, of course, Pope Francis. Pope Francis is seemingly far, far more progressive than other popes, certainly in my lifetime. And he's criticized Donald Trump's policies before, saying that a true Christian wouldn't build walls, he'd build bridges. And of course, Donald Trump has called him disgraceful and all that. But now they met, and Trump, good on him, started with telling the Pope, it's a great honor to meet you. All right, good, wonderful. The Pope avoided small talk in the beginning, but they had a private meeting for 30 minutes, which apparently went well enough. He came out smiling a little bit. And the Pope gave him a gift. It was a sculpture of an olive tree. And he told Trump, it is my desire that you become an olive tree to construct peace. So I love that. And obviously he's trying to send a message. And with Trump, you really got to beat him over the head with a concealed message. He's not that bright. But he's like, remember olive branch? So this is about peace? He's like, oh, okay. And Trump says, we can use peace. Even the construction of that sentence is funny. Like, not that, hey, peace is great, peace is wonderful, and I hear you. We can use it. Peace is useful. Every once in a while, I'll use peace. Okay, all right, but, I'll take it, I guess. Then Pope Francis gave him more stuff. He said Francis also gave Trump a signed copy of his 2017 peace message, whose title is Nonviolence, a Style of Politics for Peace, and a copy of his 2015 encyclical letter on the need to protect the environment from the effects of climate change. Trump said, well, I'll be reading them. No, you won't. Everybody knows you're not going to read those. I mean, first of all, the topic matter, but second of all, they're longer than a page. There's no way Trump's going to read them. If you guys don't know, the security briefings used to be fairly long on different countries and different conflicts throughout the world because it's complicated stuff. Nobody knew it was complicated. And Trump's, at first, they boiled it down to 4 pages for Trump, but it was too long. Now, they give everything to him in 1-page memos. And the page is he likes graphs and maps. How much can you fit on a page? You think he's going to read the Pope's treatise on climate change? Well, I'll read them. I could use peace. Anyway, at the end, hey, Donald, how'd it go? He said, quote, it was a fantastic meeting. Look, I'm glad it went well, I guess, right? But the reality of the matter is that Donald Trump isn't going to read it. He's not going to pay any mind to it. And he's shredding the Environmental Protection Agency as we speak. He has cut its budget dramatically. He's threatening to pull out of all climate change accords throughout the world. He's put in fossil fuel industry lobbyists, de facto lobbyists, as the heads of all of our environmental regulation. It's an absolute disaster. On peace, he's bombing all over Syria, not only Assad's government, but other targets as well. We've killed hundreds of civilians, let alone the raid in Yemen that killed men, women, and children, including an 8-year-old girl. So he has no intention of doing peace. And after the terrorist bombings, which I heard under Trump wouldn't happen, but there's Manchester. Now all the right-wingers are out there trying to blame other people for it. No. You said this guy would take care of it. He said he'd take care of it in 1 month after he was elected. Over 4 months in, still happening all across the world. What happened, Donald Trump? And he said that if he just had said the magic words, radical Islamic terrorism, that it would all go away. Well, Trump was thin-skinned, and what happened? No, magic words didn't work. So we still had Manchester. So what I said yesterday, and I'm glad to see the Pope backing me up, probably not the order of things in the real world, but anyway, super happy to have a Pope actually on our side and for peace, which, by the way, they're supposed to be. And to be fair to the other popes, they were against the Iraq war as well. No matter what they were conservatively on other issues, they are for peace. They don't want people to die. They are actually truly pro-life. They're also against the death penalty. Okay, so the Pope said, hey, you know what? Maybe give peace a chance. Because you know what we've been doing now? We've been bombing the Middle East for decades. And did it make the bombings here and all over the Western world stop? No. They have not stopped. If anything, they might have intensified. So war is not only immoral, and that's the Pope saying that, so he's a pretty good authority on that. If you're a Christian, especially if you're a Catholic, that's the Pope talking. So do you believe the Pope or don't you believe the Pope? We know the war hasn't worked. We know, and he thinks it's immoral. But on top of that, it's counterproductive. So maybe try the thing that actually works. So wherever you've had peace deals, you no longer have violence. Egypt and Israel. And what stopped the bombings in the UK in the first place? the peace deal between the IRA and the British government. So the peace in Northern Ireland. And you go all across the world. You know what actually brings you peace? I know it's shocking. Peace. Instead, Trump says we're going to double down and we're going to bomb more in the Middle East. Guess what's going to happen? There's no magic words. You're going to have more bombings here in the West. And the Pope is right. And unfortunately, Donald Trump won't be reading a word of anything the Pope wrote on this issue. I wish he would, and I wish that meeting was actually constructive, and it got through his thick skull. But very, very likely, it won't have helped at all, and all we'll have is more war and less action on climate change. Okay, I got to take a quick break here. When I come back, I'm not done with Trump yet, by damn sight. So it turns out we find out how many people he's kicking off of insurance. I'm going to tell you that. And more cuts, not just to Medicaid now, but also to Social Security. Tell you about that too when we return.
It's the post-game show. Brett Ehrlich and Tim Horcher join me.
I think there's an interesting thing to be written or done about the logic of repealing EPA regulations, because that is baby killing.
Yeah.
Like, you're a baby killer. Like, everything you're doing is aborting babies. And you can go specifically to, like, Monsanto and pesticides that end up creating birth defects that abort babies. So, in a way, that is an abortion clinic that you're starting by repealing FDA regulations and EPA regulations.
That's right. But we know what they really mean when they say that they're pro-life.
Right, and that's the thing for me is, like, I'm tired of everyone speaking in code and rushing to, like, confirm their pre-existing biases. I just want them to tell me what they're actually pissed about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like with the things that we were talking about on one show were like, people are okay with Trump having his own private server.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got mad at someone else for that.
Her emails.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so, okay, it's fine. You know you're bullshit. I know you're bullshit. So tell me what you're actually mad about, because it's probably your dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably your mom and your dad, and that's why you're mad. And it's created this crazy shit from this probably very personal relationship you have with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. And you're angry and frustrated, and you're talking in strange codes and giving certain people passes and other people not. You read headlines and articles in this sprint to find some way to confirm what you already believe.
Yeah.
And you stop when you get it, and you don't read the end of it. Like, I get it, but tell me what you're actually mad about.
Okay, you know what? This is a good therapeutic exercise to close out the post-game show. Why don't we each state what we are the most angry about?
I'm the most angry about boycotts right now.
Oh.
Just like, boycott it, that thing's the worst. Like, if I were to get into a business right now, it would be litmus paper sales. Because everyone's like, litmus test on that, fuck you, boycott, delete.
Yeah.
And it's like, read the history of boycotts. Which ones are good, and which ones are like, you weren't going to buy that shit anyway.
I'm angry about willful ignorance. I am angry about throwing away data that we have applied intellectual power to for a reason. I am tired of the rejection of intellectualism, or deciding that intellectual people are elitists or somehow they think they're better than you. Maybe they are. They know things, and you should try to know things about something. Forcing yourself into the dark is never going to bring us forward. It's never going to end up with a positive result.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
And I'm reading some of the comments on a YouTube video I did. What the cuck? Go.
I just closed my Wells Fargo account. I just divested funds from Wells Fargo. I definitely urge you to do the same. Please come divest. Divest today from all the big banks. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank, Chase. There are so many others. Do it. We can make a difference. Water is life.
back on the Young Turks, hashtag TYT Live. Talk to us while the show is live, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on TYTnetwork.com/live. Jeff Waldorf writes in, a dictator brags about killing people, and Trump tells him he's doing a wonderful job. This isn't a red flag, it's a neon sign. Eva Athen writes in quotes, what a great job you're doing murdering people. Trump makes me vomit. I wake up every day hoping it's a dream. This can't be real. Could you imagine if it's like Dallas, and at the end we wake up and Donald Trump was never president? It was Bernie instead. Whisper of a dream? That would literally be a dream. And some of you folks out there, he gets impeached, you're thinking, okay, how do we get rid of Mike Pence and Paul Ryan at the same time? I love you, brothers and sisters, but you can't. That's not how it works. We're going to have to bite the bullet on Pence and go kick his ass in 2020. That's if we're lucky and Trump actually does get impeached. Anyway, finally, William Knox says, love that picture of number 45 in Pope. Looks like Donnie's asking the Pope how much he wants for his shiny crucifix. He said, ooh, gold, I like gold. Or he might pull a Putin. Remember when Putin asked Robert Kraft, one of the New England Patriots, for his Super Bowl ring? Oh, can I take a look at that? He took it and put it in his pocket and left. Kraft said, what? Wait, where are you going? That was my ring. It's amazing, man. You know what Trump probably said after that? You're doing a tremendous job, Putin. Way to steal that ring. Wonderful job. All right, now, big news. Just came out a little bit before we start the show. Let me tell you about it. The Congressional Budget Office has come out with its score for the Republican health care proposal, the AHCA. So everybody's wondering how many people are going to be kicked off insurance. Hey, you know what? The Republicans and Donald Trump told us nobody's going to get kicked off insurance. Everybody's going to have insurance, and it's going to be lower price for everybody and more coverage. And you're all getting play boxes for Christmas! Okay. Play boxes? PlayStation, Xbox? You're getting both! Okay, anyway. You get a car. You get a car. So it turns out, not true. Of course! How many people are going to lose insurance under the new Republican proposal? 23 million people. Okay? So, now, I want you to be clear about, some people call this Trump care, but no. The entire Republican Party is in favor of this. They're the ones who passed it in the House. They're the ones who crafted it. In fact, they made it more draconian than even Donald Trump won. The Tea Party guys in the House were like, no, we want more people kicked off of insurance. Why? Because they wanted even more tax cuts for the rich. Oh, great. So I'm going to tell you all about that. First, the Congressional Budget Office is nonpartisan. So they tell you what the bill is going to do, the good news, the bad news. So they had some good news here, too. They said the agency also predicted that the deficit would come down by $119 billion over the next decade, and that premiums for people buying insurance on their own would be relatively lower than those premiums would be if the Affordable Care Act stays in place. Well, that sounds pretty good, right? Hold. Now, let me tell you why some of those premiums are coming down and why you have the deficit reduction in the first place. So, prices would come down for the healthy people, because those who are sick or have illnesses in their medical industries would have less access to coverage. And the policies available on the market would tend to be a lot less comprehensive. Well, yeah, it'll cost less if it doesn't cover you when you're sick. So that's not really an insurance plan. So the states could take away your coverage if you have a pre-existing condition. So we're back to the bad old days. They could put caps on how much insurance companies have to spend on you per year or your lifetime. Well, if you have a cap and then you get cancer, they're like, oh, well, I'm sorry, man, you breached your cap. That's over $12,000. So I guess from here on out, you die. Yeah, those are the things we were trying to get rid of. And yes, insurance costs a tiny bit more if it is actual insurance and covers sick people. If it doesn't cover sick people, then it'll cost less, but it'll also be useless. So, one of the changes that would allow the states to waive a rule that prohibits insurers, as something the Post explains here more, from charging higher premiums to people at greater risk of medical problems. So in the old days, they could charge you more if you actually could get sick. Now we're going to go back to those days. Without that rule in place, insurers could jack up rates for people with pre-existing conditions, effectively making standard coverage unavailable and violating a key promise to guarantee insurance for everybody regardless of medical status, which most Republicans had endorsed. So when they told you that everybody was going to get covered, total lie. When they told you that, well, first of all, 23 million people are going to just lose insurance, no insurance at all. Second of all, if you have insurance, do you? If it's got a lifetime cap, or it's got a yearly cap, or if you switch jobs or you switch insurance for any reason, oh, sorry, some of the states said we don't have to cover pre-existing conditions anymore, so you were sick once, we're not going to cover you anymore. Oh, if you're older, it's going to cost you way more. Sometimes as much as 4 times what it used to cost. On top of everything else, this is a political disaster for them. If it gets implemented, if the Senate passes, this is the House version, it is at the Senate now, and President Trump signs it, and you then have older voters who are getting charged 4 times what they used to, it's going to be a political bloodbath. And it should be, because without insurance and the ability to afford insurance, well, then you have a literal bloodbath. When you say to people you don't have insurance anymore and they get sick, they keep saying, oh, Robin, what do you mean? They got coverage, they can go to the emergency room. Yeah, if you break your ankle, you can go to the emergency room. If you've got cancer, you can't keep going to the emergency room and getting chemotherapy. That's not how it works. That's a death sentence. It is. In real life, it is. There's just no way around it. Like, they're a little too afraid to tell you that on TV because it sounds impolite. You know what's impolite? Giving somebody with cancer a death sentence because they can't get insurance anymore, they can't afford insurance. That's really, really impolite. Now, how about the good news on the deficit side? First of all, did you know that Obamacare also reduced the deficit? They never talk about that, but it did. And part of the reason that they made sure that this one also reduced the deficit was so they can pass it with just 50 votes. Complicated reason on reconciliation and how the Senate works, but you can't filibuster it, or there's a potential that they can't filibuster it if it actually reduces the deficit. If it added the deficit, then they would need 60 instead of 50 votes in the Senate. So that's one of the reasons they did it. But there's a more important thing behind the deficit. They explain here at HuffPo, there's no magic behind the bill's effects on the budget deficit. The House approved a measure that slashes federal support for low and middle income families to obtain health care coverage. So, like, yay, it's less of a deficit than we used to have. Well, how'd you do that? Oh, I made sure the middle class didn't have insurance. So before, there was $800 billion extra in Medicaid. So if you're poor or middle class, Medicaid covered you. Now they're taking that away. They're taking away $800 billion. So that's why 23 million people won't have insurance anymore. So, hey, I solved the deficit problem by not giving you insurance. How do you like my health care plan now? And one more wrinkle here, which is very, very important, and the whole point of why Republicans are doing this. Most of the money saved by cutting hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicaid and billions more from financial assistance for those buying private health insurance will be transferred to wealthy households and healthcare companies in the form of tax cuts with a small amount left over for deficit reduction. So the money saved isn't even mainly going to deficit reduction. That's a tiny amount of it. No, most of the money saved is going to the very rich and corporations in the form of tax cuts. That's what this Republican healthcare proposal is about. It's not about healthcare. It does the exact opposite. It covers less people, makes it more expensive for people who actually need it, and sets all of these barriers to actually getting coverage. It's not about healthcare. It's about tax cuts for the rich. This is Republican 101. Next time you vote for a Republican, don't get surprised. This is exactly what they do. They serve their donors. Their donors want those tax cuts no matter what, even if it costs you your life. That's the reality. I know, I'm so impolite. So impolite to point out the facts about how healthcare actually works. In Washington, you're allowed to cost 23 million people their insurance and hence have a lot of them die in the streets without any care at all. That's perfectly fine. But if you point out that they're actually going to die, they call that impolite and uncivil. Oh, please. I'm a duty class. Those are our Republican friends. They come on our television shows all the time. You're saying that their decisions are going to lead to people dying. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm saying that. Of course it's going to happen. What do you think healthcare does? Oh, so the next thing you'll be telling me is that the Iraq War cost lives. Yes, it did. It cost hundreds of thousands of civilian lives. And that was also barbaric, which is a fact, is uncivil in Washington. Gee, I wonder why people can't stand the establishment anymore, including the establishment media. Okay. Now, let me give you more details on more cuts. This was actually from a day ago, even before we got the CBO score. Okay. Now, Donald Trump told us over and over again on the campaign that he was going to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. But, of course, Social Security is the most popular program in the country. Over 80% of Americans don't want a dime cut from it. And Trump said on the campaign, quote, "It's my absolute intention to leave Social Security the way it is." All right, that's a direct quote from him, but let's show you Donald Trump talking about all those programs.
Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it. Get rid of the fraud, get rid of the waste and abuse, but save it. People have been paying in for years, and now many of these candidates want to cut it. You save it, so you've been paying into Social Security and Medicare, by the way. Let's put them in the thing, because Medicare does work. With both, you have tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. We're going to take care of that, okay? But we're not going to cut your Social Security, and we're not cutting your Medicare. And we're going to be able to save your Social Security. We're not taking it.
Okay, we're not taking it. So we already know in their healthcare proposal they cut, well, only $800 billion from Medicaid. So that, what you saw there about protecting Medicaid and saving it and not cutting it, can be characterized as what, an 80% lie, 90, 98? No, 100% lie. Okay, but if that wasn't enough, now he's cutting Social Security. A summary table indicates that Trump budget, his budget was released recently, would cut disability insurance by $72 billion over 10 years, or about 4% of the program's projected cost. Wait, I thought you said you weren't going to cut Social Security. Well, Nancy Altman, president of Social Security Works, a nonprofit that advocates for expanding Social Security benefits across the board, said in a statement on Sunday that the budget amounts to, quote, a flagrant violation of Trump's campaign pledge. That sounds about right. Now, here's my favorite part of the story. Mick Mulvaney is the head of the Office of Management and Budget. He says, if you ask 999 people out of 1,000, they would tell you that Social Security disability is not part of Social Security. It's old age retirement they think of when they think of Social Security. Okay, let's just think about that for a second. It's called Social Security disability. Do you think it's part of Social Security? My guess is it's part of Social Security. And then listen to what he's saying. He's like, yeah, of course it's part of Social Security, but most people don't realize it. So if we cut it, I get to cut Social Security, and I hope nobody notices.
Says disability insurance is an essential component of the protections workers earn when they contribute to Social Security with every paycheck. In other words, what she's saying is, look, when they take the money out of your checks, they take that Social Security money out of all of our checks, they call it entitlements. And the Republicans always tell you, like, oh, look at these entitlements that you think you're entitled to.
Two things with it. It says, when you retire, when you get older, I'm going to give you that money back. The other thing is, I'm going to save it for you. I'm going to add, hopefully, get some money on top of that. Get you a nice nest egg, so that you can at least, not die in the streets when you get older. The other thing is, if you get horribly, horribly disabled, it's also going to be a little bit of insurance for you. That's part of Social Security. And you paid into it, that's why you are entitled to it. Now they're going to rob you of that and go, oh, well, if you get horribly disfigured, that's your problem, man. That's not my problem. I'm a Republican. I'm just throw some bootstraps at you. And the money that I took out of that Social Security, I'm going to give it to the rich. Tax cuts, baby. Tax cuts. No. Not tax cuts for the payroll tax that pays for Social Security. No. You keep paying your taxes. I'm going to keep taking that out of your check. But I'm not going to give it to you if you get disabled. I'm going to give it to my rich friends. But I think you won't notice. You must be so proud, Mick Mulvaney and Donald Trump. Now, the Republicans say, oh, Social Security, disability guys, they're faking it anyway. The Social Security Administration Inspector General testified to Congress in 2014 that the program has less than 1% fraud rate. That's the Inspector General. That's not the guys whose job is to protect the program. The Inspector General's job is to make sure that they're abiding by the law and not cheating. And he looks at it and goes, 1% fraud rate. Now, do you know how hard it is to get Social Security disability? For the people who apply, only 28% get accepted in the first year. That means they reject 72% of applicants. Meanwhile, the Republicans are like, oh, they're bums. Oh, you got your legs cut off at work? You're a bum. Go grow some new legs. What do I care? I want more tax cuts for the rich. When Donald Trump said he was not going to cut Social Security, of course he was lying. He's a pathological liar. What did you expect, you schmuck? No, I'm taking money from you and giving it to my buddies. And what did Trump say back during the campaign? One more quote for you guys. I was the first and only potential GOP candidate to state there will be no cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. How could be copied me? Right? And where is it going, guys? The Trump administration on Tuesday unveiled a budget seeking $1.5 trillion in non-defense discretionary cuts and $1.4 trillion in Medicaid cuts over the course of a decade, while adding nearly $500 billion to defense spending and, of course, tax cuts for the rich. Young Turks.
Journalism, post-World War II linked itself to the corporate model, moved away from kind of a more opinion-driven, partisan approach to media that had dominated before that. And as the 20% profit margins accrued over the years, it moved from a working-class profession to an elite profession. And as broadcast news kind of supplanted print, people became fakes. And so you took two steps away from regular people, and the further you got away from regular people, the less regular people trusted what they were getting. The media was clearly an elite institution, and the clearer that became to people, the less they trusted it. The cable networks are casting a broad net, so they have to hit this, that, this, all in a half-an-hour segment, where on the web, you can say, you know what, we're just going to do 30 or 40 minutes just on healthcare reform, just on Wall Street, just on immigration. And the people who want to be there for that, want to learn about the issue, want to engage with it, they'll stick around for the whole 40 minutes. The people who don't, they'll go find something else. But cable can't get away with that because they're trying to keep everybody constantly, so they've got to keep everything moving. Been doing investigative journalism for years, along with daily journalism. I think it's important to blend the two so that you don't lose touch with the news cycle. You don't go away for a year and then come back with one big piece. You can do both. And there's a range. There's the year-long project. There's the week-long project. There's the month-long project. There's the half-year project. And I'm definitely looking forward to doing a lot of that here. On the one hand, you can do the best story ever, and if nobody reads it, it didn't have an impact. It didn't matter. So journalism can't just be artistic vanity. It has to have a public-facing element. It has to mean something to people. And for that to happen, people have to read it. So there is an obligation, I think, that journalists have to get people to click on their stuff and to get people to watch it. Otherwise, it's just pure vanity. On the other hand, if all you care about is clicks, then you're going to do the easiest cherry-picked stories, in spite of the fact that people are much more likely to click on the trivial stuff. You still have to do the investigation, because if you don't, nobody else will. And investigative journalism so often is what changes the world. If you look back at almost any social movement, go back far enough, you're going to see a piece of journalism that opened people's eyes, got them enraged, got them inspired, got them to organize, march, protest, until they got to where they are now.
You have in common with your daughter?
I was going to say sex, but I can't relate to that. You said I had 12 hands. They're not
fluffy fluff. All right, back in the Young Turks. Let me read you the members of the day. Tony Tucker and Candace White. You guys are awesome. They're going to have a wonderful post game for you guys today. I'm not going to be in it. I'm not going to be in the second hour of the show because I got to go catch a plane to London. Tomorrow I will be debating at the Oxford Union Blues. I will start the debate with Arthur Duclas. So I'm going to be debating on the issue of Citizens United. You know who I'll be up against? Against the lawyer who won Citizens United in front of the Supreme Court. But this time he's not going up against some regular schmuck who's a lawyer on the opposite side. He's going up against me. I will start the debate with "Have at it, Hoss." and also on his side, by the way, is Floyd Abrams, arguably the top First Amendment lawyer. But once again, I remind you, I will be on the opposing side. I think we're going to tape it. I hope I can show it to you guys. If you're anywhere near Oxford, I don't really know when it is or exactly where Oxford Union is, but I'll be there tomorrow. So come see me, okay? That's why I'm going to miss the postgame. But we do have wonderful things for all the members. Tonight we've got Old School. It's a great special Old School. Wes Clark Jr. and Jimmy Dore, the 420 version of Old School. So you're going to love it. And then Aggressive Progressives tomorrow night as well. I interviewed James Cromwell yesterday on the show. Members got to see it live. He says he'll be on a future episode of Aggressive Progressives. How cool is that? Okay? So all that for members. Come join us at tytnetwork.com/join. All right, a couple of quick tweets for you. Mary Gebauer says the AHCA is just a death sentence for poor people. Andrew J.F. Deskin says one thing that is almost never talked about is that Medicaid covers nursing and in-home care. GOP giving older voters the finger. Well, I know older voters, they vote, so they might give that finger right back at them. Let's hope so. Chris Allen says, healthcare is so important, especially since most people had a heart attack when Trump became president. That's funny, Chris. Chris, we got an LOL on that one. You get a t-shirt. Everybody else go to shoptyt.com. Okay. Now, one more story for you guys in this segment. We've got an interesting governor's race in New Jersey. Now, oftentimes I'm talking about Congress, but this important seat that they're obviously going to replace Chris Christie. Those will be some shoes and pants to fill. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, I denounce and reject myself, especially as an overweight American from New Jersey myself. All right, anyways, now we've got a couple of candidates. I'm not going to go through all of them. We have an exclusive on it, all kidding aside, at Young Turks from one of the candidates, and that is Jim Johnson. And he's got a new plank that we are proud to bring you guys here on the Young Turks. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about the person who's currently leading the polls. His name is Phil Murphy. Now, he's a former Goldman Sachs banker. Here we go again. New Jersey, of course, had a Governor Jim Corzine, who was also a former Goldman Sachs banker. Corzine spent millions of dollars of his own money to buy that race, win that race. And Phil Murphy is now spending a lot of his own money as well to try to win this race. He has spent $18 million so far in this race. That is, of course, way more than any of his fellow candidates. Of the $18 million, $15 million of it is his own. You can look at that in two different ways. You can say, man, he really wants to win, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. And to be fair to Phil Murphy, he has not been at Goldman Sachs since 2003, so that's been quite some time. Corzine went straight from Goldman Sachs to roughly speaking, to governor of New Jersey. And then Murphy also served as ambassador to Germany, and of course you do that when you give a lot of money to one party or another. All of a sudden, you get a nice ambassador job. He also served, I don't know if this is good news or bad news for those of you at home, as finance chair of the Democratic National Committee from 2006 to 2009. But that was the years that Howard Dean was doing the 50-state strategy, so he did get a lot of money to the state organizations for the Democratic Party. That's the good news. Well, he's also spread a lot of money around in New Jersey. And since 2001, he has given $1.5 million to make sure that all those people appreciated his support. And Star Ledger, writing about it, thinks that that's no big deal. I come to a different conclusion on that, and I suspect a lot of you do as well. They say, and the role his money played is exaggerated by his critics, who say the $1.5 million he donated to the county organizations enabled him to, quote, buy the nomination. No, of course not. When he gave all that money to all those local politicians and they all endorsed him, it was a wild coincidence. That's the thing about politicians. A check appears in front of them, and then they wind up supporting the guy who gave them the check. It happens almost every time, and every time it's a coincidence. It's amazing, man. They should play the lottery or something. What luck. And then the Star Ledger continues, all shades of defending Hillary Clinton here during the primaries. Wait, are you questioning Phil Murphy's honor and the honor of the politician he gave money to? They say, did he buy Senator Cory Booker? Did he buy the Sierra Club? Yeah, kind of. That's how it works. You donate to them, and then they do largely whatever you tell them to do. And so, look, I got no beef with the Sierra Club. God bless their heart. I hope they save the planet. But they also have donors, and does that affect them? Yeah, it affects them a little bit, right? I get how it works. And this whole idea, I can't, that's the thing that drives me crazy about this. We're going to get to the exclusive in a second. But Star Ledger, I mean, come on, man. Are you guys journalists or are you not journalists? You're just going to take it at face value, like that money, millions of dollars doesn't affect anybody? Like, Cory Booker. Like, they say it as if, that solves the issue. We're done with it. Are you saying that Cory Booker would do something for money? Yeah. That's what all politicians do. That's what all the citizens think. And you go out there as if that settles the case. Well, obviously, since Cory Booker, our beloved politician of the establishment, is impeachable, it must be true that all the money that he used to grease everybody in New Jersey didn't affect him at all. Now, I want to be clear about this. I don't know Phil Murphy as a person, and he has some proposals that are better than Republican proposals. No question about it. He would raise taxes a little bit, and he would use it for education. He would use it to protect the pensions. And I'm not saying that Phil Murphy's a bad guy at all. But did he buy the support of all those politicians in New Jersey so he can get their endorsement, so he could be the leading candidate? Of course he did. And maybe he'll be a wonderful governor if he wins, right? But he did buy the race. There's no question that's what happened. And if you're saying that it couldn't have happened because people like Cory Booker are so beyond reproach that by definition they could not be corrupted, then you're not even a journalist. Come on, what kind of journalist says that a politician can't be corrupted? In New Jersey? Of all places? Come on. And in the Star Ledger endorsement of Phil Murphy, it's littered with phrases like, he is sensible, he is practical, he is going to do things that are, small changes, but doable, practical, moderate changes. I've seen this movie before. I've seen it before, okay? So, now, there's several other people in the race, and I'm not here to endorse anybody. There's some good folks, including the guy who uncovered the part of the Bridgegate scandal in the first place, etc., but we do have an exclusive from Jim Johnson, one of the other folks running in the race. Now, let me tell you about Jim Johnson a little bit. He was Undersecretary of the Treasury in the Clinton administration. He worked at Devitt Boys and Clinton, which is one of the top law firms. But most importantly, he was chairman of the Brennan Center, which sticks up for Progressive Ideas as a liberal think tank. I think that's positive. And most importantly, he's been working on policing and criminal justice reform. And that's where we have our breaking news. He has just introduced 2 new planks as criminal justice proposals. One is to close youth prisons in New Jersey. Wow, that's bold. See, now we're not playing around. This is not small change. He would end youth solitary confinement, increase the use of station house adjustments, and invest in community-based youth programs. So that's big change. And we often talk about criminal justice reform and how we need it in this country. And here's someone who's willing to do it on a significant scale in New Jersey. And a new one he's also announcing is pardons and expungement. So he's created an expedited pardon system for non-violent drug charges, expanding the scope of crimes that can be expunged, and shorten waiting times for expungement. The reason you do that is our jails are filled with people who had these non-violent offenses because this insane war on drugs. And he's saying, look, we found a way to imprison people at record rates, which is absolutely true, and it applies to African Americans and minorities at far, far greater numbers, and then it loses their chance of getting jobs afterwards if you don't do the pardons, you don't do the expunging of their records. So those are bold proposals and ones that are definitely needed, in my opinion. But I like his overall plank on criminal justice overall. This is really his big strength. He's also in favor of diversion and early intervention. He wants to end mandatory minimums, so we're not blindly sending people to prison for simple drug use. He believes in re-entry programs and actually working to increase access to education and vocational training so that people can get reacclimated into their communities in a more productive way. He wants to end the stigma around drug addiction and doesn't want to treat it as a crime, but as a healthcare matter. And very, very importantly at the end there, he wants to legalize marijuana in New Jersey. So, look, the establishment media takes that last part as a throwaway. Oh, it's cute, or it's a way to get, some younger voters. No. The war on drugs has cost us dearly, trillions of dollars in taxpayer money to imprison all these people. This caused gang warfare, and then it has imprisoned all sorts of people that never belonged in prison in the first place. It is applied grossly unjustly and disproportionately, as he points out. White people and black people do drugs at the same rate, but especially marijuana. But black people are put in jail for marijuana use at 3.7 times the rate of white people. So that is incredibly unfair. And so there's now more African American males in jail today than there were African American males in slavery at the end of the Civil War. That is unbelievable. And Jim Johnson is saying, look, we have to start ending that gross injustice, and we start where we have power. So if he becomes the governor of New Jersey, those are the reforms that he plans to put in place. On that plank, it sounds great. But I want you guys to go do your own research. Don't just trust the establishment media, or necessarily even your local media if they're going around saying that politicians can't be corrupted by millions of dollars in donations. And actually find out what the policy positions of all the 4 major candidates that are in the race, and make your own call. I'm proud that Johnson's campaign gave us the exclusive on how they are going to expand their criminal justice reform plan, and so now you have more information about that race. And as a person who lived in New Jersey, grew up in New Jersey, and loves New Jersey, I really, really want you to make the right choice, whatever the right choice is for you. All right, I gotta go. Anna will be here with you guys in a couple minutes, and she's got a wonderful second hour for you guys. If you're near Oxford, maybe I'll see you there tomorrow, whenever the Oxford Union debate is. Okay, sorry for the really bad info on that. But you know what? Once I find out, I'll put it on Twitter. So at Jake Huger, good luck trying to spell that. Follow me, and at the Young Turks as well. We'll put up that information too. And I'll see you guys on Monday. We've got a great show for you the next couple of days while I'm out too. All right, we'll be right back.
A progressive future requires a different kind of financial industry. I'm Joe Sandberg, co-founder of Aspiration.com, online financial firm you can fall in love with. The American financial industry came to serve itself and profit. I believe in a different path for business. Business should be about serving people, and that profit is a byproduct of serving people. Aspiration.com is about our customers. We use what we call pay what's fair. You as a customer have the power to choose your fee. We trust you that if we do a good job for you, you'll choose to pay us. 10% of the fees that you choose to pay, we give to charity. Many of you are passionate about the environment and reversing the effects of climate change, but many of you also may be making that a big institution that funds things like Dakota Access. It made clear what's inherently broken about Wells Fargo and so much of the financial industry. These organizations are obsessed not with serving people, but with serving themselves and their profit. You can stop thoughtful by taking your money out of banks that fund and put your money into financial institutions like Aspiration.com. You don't have to sacrifice your values to do well financially. And that's why our motto at Aspiration is do well, do good. We have a popular fossil fuel free, firearm free, private prison free, sustainable investing fund at Aspiration called the Red Fund. And the minimum is just $100. The power and future is yours to determine. The choices you make with your money matter. And that's why we built Aspiration, because there's a different, better way to deliver both great banking and investing services that meet your needs and also match your values.
Welcome back to the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian, Brett Ehrlich, and Kim Horcher with you. Cenk is rushing to a flight. He's going to fly somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where, but he will be gone for the rest of the week.
The sky, apparently. He's flying to the sky.
Yes, that's typically what happens. I don't envy him because flying is pretty much a nightmare these days. But hopefully he has a smooth and safe flight. Anyways, all right, we have lots of great stories for you guys. Remember to use the hashtag TYT Live to tweet to us, and we'll read them during the breaks and respond to them when we come back. And later on in this hour, we will discuss the latest Star Trek series and how some people are upset about it, which is good because Kim Porcher is a bit of an expert on this, and Brett, you like movies and stuff. Well, it's not a movie. Ida Rolla is going to be so jealous.
I do it all. I'm sitting in for Ida Rolla today, probably.
You can't match him.
No, can't match him.
You don't.
Can only seek to destroy him. Yeah, that I can't match.
Star Trek.
He knows a lot. He's a big Star Trek.
Oh, I didn't know he was a big Star Trek.
I didn't either.
I have matching the Next Generation jacket.
That's true.
I'm command, and he's operations. Nice. All right, guys. Let's get started with some of the stories, including what's going on in New Orleans. The mayor of New Orleans has just given a speech that is going viral because of the fact that he has said something that a lot of politicians are afraid to say. Now, the whole speech had to do with the fact that New Orleans has taken down 4 statues that were dedicated to Confederate soldiers. And, of course, this has led to a lot of heated debate. Some who argue the statue should have remained up. Others who argue that, no, it's actually a terrible reminder of the way African Americans were treated in American history, and it's offensive, so it should be taken down. Well, Mayor Mitch Landrieu of New Orleans says, look, here is the reality of these statues. They're wrong, and this is why I'm taking them down. The city of New Orleans removed a 16-foot statue of General Robert E. Lee from the center of Lee Circle. This was the last of 4 Confederate monuments that were taken down in the city after the city council had declared them to be a public nuisance. Now, I am going to play one of 2 videos that show the mayor giving this speech, and you'll get an understanding for why it went viral. Take a look.
So let's start with the facts. The historic record is clear. Robert E. Lee, Jeff Davis, P.G.T. Beauregard statues were not erected to just honor these men, but as part of a movement which became known as the Cult of the Lost Cause. This cult had one goal and one goal only: through monuments and through other means, to rewrite history, to hide the truth, which is that the Confederacy was on the wrong side of humanity. First erected 166 years after the founding of our cities, 19 years after the Civil War, these monuments that we took down were meant to rebrand the history of our city and the ideals of the Confederacy. It is self-evident that these men did not fight for the United States of America. They fought against it. They may have been warriors, but in this cause, they were not patriots. These statues are not just stone and metal. They're not just innocent remembrances of a benign history. These monuments celebrate a fictional, sanitized Confederacy, ignoring the death, ignoring the enslavement, ignoring the terror that it actually stood for.
So some strong language there. Again, you don't hear a lot of politicians talk about how unpatriotic the Confederates were during the Civil War. You know, you see a lot of politicians using language carefully as a way of avoiding offending people. And so I think the fact that he used such strong language in that speech is why it's getting so much attention. He was strong. He was extremely strong in what he was saying.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And the argument against it is like you're taking down some kind of legacy, some kind of history, and I'm fine with that. It's sending a message when you put out a statue like this in the middle of a big public square. Someone walking by would look at it and say, okay, apparently they like this person. You don't put up statues of people that you vilify unless it is very clear that you are vilifying it in a specific context.
I mean, that's what the mayor was saying with the Lost Cause, which is this whole false narrative or false history, if that's how you want to categorize it, that minimizes or erases slavery's role in the Civil War and built this idea that it's this noble cause and it's honorable and you're preserving the South, but it's not based on reality. If we just accepted everything that was considered historic or part of history as something that we would
celebrate,
memorialize forever. Do you know how ridiculous our society should be or would be if that happened?
Right. So let me clarify something, because I think what you guys are saying is no one's trying to erase history, right? There's a difference between learning about, historical truths in a museum versus having, Confederate statues in a public area that, essentially celebrates those individuals. So I don't think that it's a good idea to ever do things, including burning books or, pretending as though, dark elements of our past don't exist. Those are things that we should learn about. Those are things that we should know about. But unfortunately, what has happened in terms of the Civil War is this ridiculous, whitewashing of the situation. And I remember one of the first segments that I did regarding the Confederate flag got an interesting response, because, I talked about the Confederacy and how they wanted to maintain, this society that is okay with slaves, and people lost their, it's not about slavery, it's about property rights.
Right, those comments are already in the comment section.
Right now.
After seeing the title of this video.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's important for people to learn about the Confederates. I think it's important for people to learn about what actually happened in the Civil War, but it doesn't make sense to celebrate individuals who literally risk their lives in order to, have slavery, avoid abolishing slavery.
Also, there's still I did a song about this on our Facebook page. It's called "There's a Shit Ton of Racist Monuments in America." There's at least 9 high schools named for Robert E. Lee still, and there's Jefferson Davis County, and I understand people who say Confederate soldier memorials are remembering the dead who fought for a certain cause, and part of that argument is along the lines of, hey, listen, whether you support the cause or not, support the troops. And that kind of instinct, I'm not clearly gonna get behind it. I'm sure there are a lot of touching stories of families who were torn apart because one person was like, listen, I don't support the Confederacy's support of slavery, but I need to protect my farm against General Sherman, who's about to annihilate it and burn it to the ground because that's his strategy. Those are the kinds of things that are different than, say, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Edmund Pettus ran the Klan. Also, Nathan Bedford Forrest's bust is in the State House in Nashville. It's in there. You walk past it, and he started the Klan. Now, I don't think every statue by someone who had a role in the Confederacy should be removed, but I don't think any of these statues that were removed were, artistically compelling statues. They're just a statue. They aren't telling a specific kind of story. There's one statue that should never be destroyed, and it's of Nathan Bedford Forrest, and it's outside Nashville, and somebody made it themselves, and it is the craziest looking thing that's bright gold, and his eyes look insane, and those kinds of things are so batshit nuts that I think they should stay.
That's interesting.
Because they have artistic value?
Because I don't know, I just think it's so awesome to look at, and it's as ridiculous as the idea of making the statue in the first place.
Right. Well, there are politicians who disagree with taking these statues down. As you can imagine, a lot of those politicians reside in Mississippi. So I want to give you a statement from Representative Carl Oliver from Mississippi, who was enraged at the thought that these Confederate statues would be taken down. Here's what he said, graphic 3. If the, and I use the term loosely, leadership of Louisiana wishes to, in a Nazi-ish fashion, burn books or destroy historical monuments of our history, they should be lynched. That is a statement that he put up on a public forum on social media. And as you can imagine, one of the biggest arguments against these statues is the fact that they perpetuate, a racist culture, that they celebrate people who fought in order to keep slavery intact in the United States. And the fact that he used the word lynched. Yes. You're proving their point right. I mean, that is an unacceptable term.
It's revealing.
It is very revealing.
That word.
Yeah.
Listen, there's one... Yeah, that guy's ridiculous.
Right.
And it's not even like he misspoke. Some people, it's not even meant they should be pinched. He said they should be, that's a misspeaking. This guy is you know what? This is our proud heritage. And usually people that I end up kind of at least understanding where they're coming from, say stuff like, we have great food and we have great architecture or something like that. It's like, okay, cool. Just you had a lot of slavery. This one is like, oh, you aren't even veiling your racism. You're putting it right out there in front of everyone.
Exactly. And again, reinforcing the argument that people continuously make about why these Confederate statues are wrong. By the way, just, look, that kind of language is unacceptable, period, regardless of who you are, right? You should not be inciting violence.
Right.
Even if you're just an average citizen, don't incite violence. But if you are a representative, using that kind of language is so incredibly dangerous and is so incredibly irresponsible. And unfortunately, he didn't realize that until enough people criticized him for it and called him out. And then he released an apology. So to be fair, let me read you his apology about this. He says, in an effort to express my passion for preserving all historical monuments, I acknowledge the word lynched was wrong. I am very sorry. It is in no way ever an appropriate term.
But the action is fine with me. Like, I shouldn't have used
illegal killing.
He said the word. He said he chose the wrong word, lynched. But it still seems he doesn't say we shouldn't have violence. At least in that quote,
right?
He's saying like I said the word I shouldn't have, which I've gone out of my way to kind of avoid. There are organizations. A lot of these monuments are put up by the Sons and Daughters of the Confederacy, two separate organizations that finance things like the ability in a handful of states to still get the battle flag, which is the X, on like the one from whatever it is, like what's the TV show that they did, the Dukes of Hazzard, that flag. To have that on your license plate still. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's not just the Confederacy. Like in Wilmington, there's this place called the Hugh McRae Playground and Splash Pad.
That sounds kind of fun.
Which is super fun. And it's like, take your kids on a hot day. Play around. There's a slide, water slides and everything. Do you know who Hugh McRae was? This is a guy who, when the city council got integrated, he organized essentially a brute squad to go around, and he bragged about killing black people and intimidating them away from voting. And he has the Hugh McRae Park Playground and Splash Pad.
Man.
The McCarran Airport in Vegas, McCarran, although he was really good for aviation, was an anti-Semite. We still name things after them. We need to take into consideration who we're naming things after. And it's not okay. In the University of Texas, in Austin, there is a mall that you walk down, and on the sides are things like the head of the Postmaster General of the Confederacy, and they're all lined up, and there's a big controversy on campus. And one of the things that the defenders of it say is that the guy who financed and organized the financing of this part of the campus decorated it with his heroes. So, since he did all the work of getting the money, he decorated it with his heroes, like the guy who made sure that, like, the correspondence from one general in the Confederacy and the other in their attempt to defend slavery and kill the North. Like, that's the kind of people, and just because he organized the financing of it, we should leave these people's statues up? I just don't think so. Right. Especially on a place as, like, liberal and cool as the University of Texas, Austin. I don't know, that's that. I did a lot of research.
Is anybody buying his apology?
I don't think so.
I don't even care about buying it because I don't care if he means it or not. He said, well, I regret I used the term lynching because I didn't hear that before. I never heard of it. It slipped my mind. I was writing in a Facebook post where specific racists like to go and write things. You know, the racists pop up on Facebook all the time with their long posts, and then afterwards go, oh, I had this slip of the keyboard when I was typing the word lynching. But you made sure you had a very careful, detailed message the whole rest of the time. You know, just because someone apologizes doesn't mean that they deserve me to accept it. F you and your apology.
Right.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't accept it. Get the hell out of here. You still don't deserve to be in that position.
And keep in mind that 2 state representatives liked it. And then when one of them was called out, he was like, "Oh, I know nothing about that. I might have accidentally liked it."
I do that sometimes.
You know you did.
I'll like Instagram posts without like. Really, I'll just automatically do it.
Everything.
Yeah, no, that's I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm cool.
And then I wanted to add one more thing about this. I think it's also interesting that Representative Oliver represents the same district in Mississippi where Emmett Till was lynched. And so these are all things that, should at least
he should be conscious of these things, okay? And he should understand, what a word like lynched really means. And I think people use language way too loosely, and
it's not just, and with this, it's not just statues. Like the state flags of many southern states are odes to the battle flag, and then look at Mississippi's state flag. It's a mix of the stars and bars and the Confederate battle flag, and they voted over 60% in the state house to keep the two versions of the Confederate flag on their state flag. And these all weren't the pre-existing flags of Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, whatever. Like the Georgia flag that they just changed is just the stars and bars, which is like the official Confederacy flag, with the Georgia logo in the middle. They changed it after the Civil War to maintain this pride in the lost cause.
The lost cause that is, by the way, a whitewashed fake version of history.
Yeah,
California has a bear, though.
We do have a bear that's extinct, actually. There is no California grizzly.
Man, you are a freaking encyclopedia today. Okay.
I did a lot of research for this. Go watch this song.
You guys should definitely check it out. It's on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Go to facebook.com/theyoungturks, and you can watch Brett's awesome Facebook Originals video on this. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to some other news. The new Star Trek series is very much anticipated. People are excited about it. Although there is one group that has been extremely critical because of some of the casting decisions. Now, it does star an Asian actress, Michelle Yeoh, as the ship's captain, and a black actress, Sonequa Martin Green, as her first officer. Now, as you can imagine, some people are riled up because they equate the casting decisions to so-called white genocide. Okay,
so what genocide means first before using the term.
Right. Well, it's funny because the same type of people who criticize the casting decisions for Star Trek are also the same kinds of people who pretend like they're very concerned about things like the Armenian genocide. But nonetheless, the series YouTube page has been bombarded by comments labeling the show a SJW, or social justice warrior plot aimed at shoving political correctness, forced diversity, and even cultural Marxism down viewers' throats. And so just a few examples of tweets that are out there. One person writes, Star Trek introduces white genocide in space, as if diversity could make it to space. I don't know what that means.
I don't understand.
That's counter to how it would even work. How are we going to get to space if we're stuck in I'll get to it, but you read the rest of it.
Diversity sounds like it's a Star Trek spaceship. It's like
I have a very good quote about this, but I want Anna to finish this.
Yeah, and then another person writes, Star Trek Discovery, the only males are a Vulcan a-hole and a wimpy helmsman. The show appears to be fully SJW converged. Okay, so before we move on, I just think it's important to note that Star Trek has had diverse casts in the past.
Every single cast has been diverse.
That's right.
Every single one. Since the 60s.
The first interracial kiss happened on Star Trek. And so it's just interesting that these people are riled up about something that they seem to not know much about. But as we look at these photos of, past Star Trek casts, I want you guys to jump in because I know you guys are more knowledgeable about Star Trek than I am. So jump in. Tell me what you think.
I have something I would like to say.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Star Trek was an attempt to say that humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day that it begins not just to tolerate, but to take special delight in differences in ideas and differences in life forms. If we cannot learn to actually enjoy those small differences, to take a positive delight in those small differences between our own kind here on this planet, then we do not deserve to go out into space and meet the diversity that is most certainly out there. That is from a book called Star Trek Philosophy. And that is a quote from Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry is, of course, the creator of Star Trek and the one responsible for anything that you could be a fan of in the Star Trek world. He strongly believed through his own personal quotes and through very many storylines, and starting in the original series in the 1960s, that diversity was key. He said the glory of creation is in infinite diversity. We must learn to live together, or surely we will all die together. The point of Star Trek is to look at a hopeful, possible future in which we have discarded these stupid and useless ideas of hatred and focused on something more exemplary of what we could be. It's not about phasers. It's not about tricorders. It's not even about banging green women. Nope. It is about humanity and how great we can be if we only focus ourselves. If you don't get that, you don't deserve to be part of this mission. So dismissed. That is a Starfleet expression for get out.
Oh, I like it. So basically,
to burn.
So Star Trek has been on a mission in favor of white genocide from the very beginning, since the 60s.
I will say,
Brett, are you worried about your safety?
Yeah.
As a white man?
I'm generally worried about my safety, but that's just because I'm afraid of volcanoes. I don't know. There's a giant volcano under Colorado. Anyhow, I do think that Star Trek is a little racist, only when it's like, oh, those Vulcans, they're so logical.
Well,
those Romulans, they're such jerks.
The point of Spock is because he's half Vulcan and half human, and that was kind of a way in the context of the series because they've surpassed that point of human racism, where it's just like, oh, well, they don't accept him no matter what, and he has to find his own way, and he becomes cold and logical, more like a machine than a human, and it's just like, he's such an interesting character, but he's such an interesting case study within that world and within the meta of the world, if within the 1960s on Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, and this kind of exposes this one dynamic that happens all the time on the internet where someone just knows that they want to disagree in a specific way, so they don't really even begin to appreciate the source material that incited this disagreement. They just want to
get it if that's how you feel.
Right.
It's great. You could say that, look at the original Star Trek. It's like all the white dudes were such nerds. And there's like, and then the captain, he's such a slut. He just goes and sleeps around and gets him into trouble. And there was the Asian dude is fun, and Uhura's fantastic. Like, I don't know. And the other white guy has to be a communist because it was the Cold War.
The thing that I find super interesting about all this is how much this notion of reverse racism has worked. Like, that type of propaganda has worked, because now, ironically, like, you have a certain group of white people who pay such close attention to the casting decisions of various shows, and they want to make sure there's enough white people there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm white, Brett's white, and so I don't want to speak for you, but I never.
Oh shit! I gotta go.
I mean, we're about to be victims of genocide.
I gotta go enjoy some privilege. I'll be right back.
But I never watch a show or a movie with like a critical eye regarding white casting. Right? I've never thought to myself, like, I feel underrepresented while watching the show because there just aren't enough white people. There's something super wrong with you if you're that insecure. If you're that, I don't know what you're afraid of. You have all of the advantages.
Everything.
You have everything. You've had everything,
right? You don't understand how important representation is if you've never felt like you haven't been represented. But it's so important. I mean, especially if you're a kid, seeing someone who at least somewhat looks like you. But it doesn't have to be race. It can be maybe your body shape, maybe something very particular about you. When you see a character represented who looks like you, you feel validated. You don't feel like you're an outsider. You feel like you can achieve things and you can do things, and it can mean everything, especially if you're a child looking at this.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we got to take our first break, so let's do that, and when we come back, more stories. You guys are going to love it, including martial law in the Philippines. Awesome.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
And I want to do a YouTube live clip, but not live. Go.
Now, you guys are going to think, especially my early behind-the-scenes footage, like, I already went and looked at the comments in the member section. He goes, oh, he's high, he's drunk. I swear to you I'm not. Well, I just tell you if I am.
Yeah.
Right? And so I get goofy in the behind-the-scenes stuff.
What's the need for the butter with this pretzel? This is already super fattening it up. You don't need to put butter on this thing. Why'd they make me do it, Vincent? Why'd they make me do it?
just saying that this is known as the rear end guy. There's no way that every person he knows doesn't call him the rear end. I want you guys to see if you could see the lightning bugs. Light them up. Light them up. I will now watch you later. Mitzi, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat. Imagine him, isn't it? Hey, Kiki Cat. Kiki Cat. Alright, this is Kiki Cat signing out.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's always these weird cream cheese options. I can never just find the plain. What about salmon? Do I look like a grizzly bear? Here, try this veggie. Here's the plain. Where is it? You're more of a grape drink kind of guy, right? Or try this mouthwash. Where's the plain? Do you like sexual healing? Where is the plain? Where's the plain? Where's the plain? Where is it? Where's the plain? Dude. Anna Rasparian. No, I want the plane. Supervisor! Aren't you the supervisor? Is that the whole point of being supervisor? Why do you get to decide my cream cheese options? At what point do you decide there'd be no plain cream cheese? I don't understand. Take it easy, man. No, this is true just like with politics and anything else. If we don't stand up for ourselves, they're gonna fuck us even harder. You're not gonna believe this. Take me out of the kitchen.
I don't play the same game you play. 'Cause I've been talking to the people that you call friends, and it seems to me there's a people strong and they don't care anymore. And to me, I can sit here by my time. I got nothing to lose. If I speak my mind, I don't care anymore. I don't care no more. I don't care what you say. We never played by the same rules. Anyway, I won't be there anymore. Get out of my way. Let me by. I got better things to do with my time. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Well, I don't care now what you say. 'Cause every day I'm feeling fine with myself. And I don't care now what you say. Cause I know
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to CYT. Anna, Brett, and Kim with you. All right, so a couple announcements before we continue on with the rest of the stories. Because of you guys, we were able to get a Shorty Award, and you guys are amazing. We can't do any of this without you. You also helped us get a Webby because you're badasses. But we have been nominated for a Streamy Award, and it was by a fan who submitted a nomination. And the only way that we can win is if you guys vote for us. So you can nominate the Young Turks in the Streamy Awards, and that happens between May 23rd and June 9th, of course, of this year. News and culture and breakout creator are the two areas that we have been nominated for. Now, who's the breakout creator? Turns out it's the Song Hiker. Maker. Yes. And for the Young Turks, it's overall social video and subject, news, and culture. Anyway, so the links are in that graphic. Check it out. tytnetwork.com/tytstreamies and tytnetwork.com/HassanStreamies. Please vote for us, guys. We really cannot do it without you. All right, a few TYT lives. The Bad Bard says, if you have a problem with Star Trek casting, get over it and set phasers to dumb.
Yeah,
that's good. Yes. And Jacqueline Mary says, as someone with a moderate Louisianan dad who believes Confederacy myths, thank you for taking down the monument. All right, let's move on to some more stories. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Police in Maryland have suspended an employee who works in their communications department after he was found cheering a black student's stabbing on social media. Now, the black student who unfortunately was stabbed and killed was Richard Collins III. He was stabbed by a man by the name of Sean Urbanski. And Sean Urbanski happens to be a friend of the employee who just got suspended. By the way, not fired, suspended. And by the way, he is in the communications department and he got suspended for communicating racist stuff on social media. Now, Collins was stabbed to death early Saturday morning, and police have charged University of Maryland student Sean Christopher Urbanski with first and second degree murder. Now, on Facebook, apparently there was an exchange between people who thought that this stabbing was great. It was on Urbanski's Facebook page. One person had written, F yeah, Sean, and then Urbanski responded, that's what happens when, and I'm going to say it verbatim because I think that, saying N-word takes the...
How do you pronounce asterisks, though?
Yeah, I know. Well, we obviously censored it for that reason, but you guys get the point. I'm actually not going to say it. It's always an uncomfortable thing, but whatever. That's what happens when N-words try and get frosty with an OG, talk shit, get stabbed, LOL. Yeah, real smart. Now, at this point, the employee who just got suspended, Welby Burgon, responded by saying, you mess with Crabo, you get Stabbo. And that's where the trouble comes in. That's where people were offended and decided that it's probably not a good idea for him to work with a local police department in Maryland. Now, the police department did release a statement about this. They said the actions of this employee are a betrayal of the values of the Anne Arundel County Police Department. Any employee who espouses or supports hateful or racist ideology will be held accountable, and we will not allow the public's trust in their police department to be eroded. Now, again, he's been suspended. That doesn't mean he's been fired, and I don't know if you guys think getting fired is the right response, but if you are hiring someone to work in the communications department of your, local police department, it's probably not a good idea to have someone who's too stupid to understand that writing racist stuff on social media is a bad idea.
No, he should be fired.
Right.
You're there to serve the public, and sometimes the public includes people of other races, so if you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be in that position.
What I don't understand is why the crab is holding a knife. It has razor sharp pincers. It's a stupid thing anyway.
Yeah.
This guy was so eager to use this as favorite image that he just blacked out and just put it in there. Couldn't help himself.
Right.
He did it, and that it isn't even a clever or good thing that he did. I'm not to. From the get-go, it's terrible. But these are one of those things where it's yeah, fire the guy. That's stupid. Let's move on.
What is up with people? First of all, I guess we're so desensitized by murder that people feel comfortable stabbing individuals to death and then bragging about it on social media very publicly, right? But, what is wrong with these people? This guy literally bragged about it, and by the way, Burgon went to school with the murder suspect, so they're friends, and I guess he's just sympathetic because they happen to be classmates, and he thinks it's totally okay to brag about murdering someone on Facebook.
It does show a lack of empathy and a lack of perhaps understanding that a person was killed is dead because of what is being called a racially motivated stabbing, and that is what the police said.
I mean, and then it's like the combination of the N-word and the law from the guy who actually did the stabbing. Like, you already said the N-word, and then the law makes it even worse. I just feel like this is a really easy way to identify terrible people, and we've done it. And I mean, I understand if you put them on suspension until you can make sure that, like, this particular post was talking about the actual stabbing, because there was a story that came out recently about what does Facebook do about stuff like this. Like, Facebook had certain protections. It was leaked to The Guardian that like, what their internal rubric is for allowing statements. And maybe one of the reasons is they allowed statements like this is so you can identify, like, the terrible people. Right. And they say they want to protect, like, discussion. I'm just trying to find something more, compelling to talk about other than these terrible, terrible people.
Right. Well, here's one thing that, keeps coming up over and over again. Don't you ever have the audacity to say or be part of a movement that wants individuals to understand that Black Lives Matter. Don't you ever be part of that, okay? Right. Because all lives matter. All lives are valued, right? You don't need a movement like that. Black lives are valued so much that someone can literally stab an individual to death, a black guy to death, and then brag about it on social media. That's how much Black lives matter to some people. Anyway,
even if it wasn't like a racially motivated attack, don't brag about it. The thing is, like, this is celebrating some kind of defense of either the individual or worse, like the master race.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible. It makes me sick. We should talk about it more.
All right, I would like to, but we have to move on to a story that I promised the audience. There's some pretty crazy stuff happening in the Philippines, so let's go there. The president of the Philippines has just declared martial law in one of its islands. And part of the reason why he has done that is because there is an ISIS-backed militant group that is clashing with local police and also with the military in the Philippines. Now, Rodrigo Duterte declared martial law in the country's second largest island. Fighting broke out between the army and Islamic State in Iraq and Syria affiliated militants. So this island, which will be under martial law for 60 days, has been the site of ongoing skirmishes between Philippine troops and police against the ISIS-backed Maute militant group. Now, just so you know what recently happened, which led to the declaration of the martial law for 60 days, nearly 50 gunmen entered Marawi City and occupied City Hall, a hospital, and a jail. They allegedly raised a black Islamic State-style flag at the gate of a hospital. The gunmen also burned buildings. So far, 2 soldiers and 1 police officer were killed and 12 wounded in the clashes. Now, let's quickly cut to a video of Rodrigo Duterte talking about this incident and why he declared martial law.
Just a few days ago, and in the past months, I have always said, do not force my hand into it. Because if I start to declare martial law, I will solve all the problems of Mindanao connected with law and order. As president, if I cannot confront them, I will resign. If I am incompetent and incapable of keeping order in this country, let me step down and give the job to somebody else.
So this is a hard situation because on one hand, if you are noticing an emergence of a terrorist group in your country, you want to do anything and everything to stop it. But the issue is Rodrigo Duterte has been a controversial figure, especially considering the fact that he has been very much in favor of vigilante justice and extrajudicial killings against those who either use or traffic drugs. And so he seems very authoritarian to begin with, and then you use words or policies like martial law, and of course it raises red flags. So look, I totally understand wanting to take action against a terrorist organization in your country, but again, considering the fact that we're talking about Rodrigo Duterte, understandably, some people are a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, he should step down. That is not how a strong leader fights ISIS. You don't put your own citizens at risk on the front lines. He thinks the answer to everything is just to threaten violence or just actually use violence. And he has no care for who it affects and who it hurts. And this is going to be your own citizenry.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he tries to exert a strong stance. This is not a small island. This is one of the larger islands. I think it's the second largest, yeah, in Philippines. So, and then also the dynamic he sets up with, like, if I can't maintain control, I'll resign.
Then resign.
Right, but then it's like, oh, I don't want to resign. I'm going to do everything in my power to maintain control. And then also saying he has control, kind of implying it. I mean, he had a statement where he said the government is in full control of the situation and is fully aware.
Apparently, they're not in full control of the situation, which is why you're taking, some draconian measures in order to deal with this. And keep in mind, under martial law, government troops will, quote, carry out searches and arrests and detain rebel suspects more quickly. Offenses would also be staged in other southern provinces plagued by extremist groups. The reason why I'm reading you that statement from their defense secretary is because they're already in favor of things like extrajudicial killings. That means you suspect someone is using drugs or trafficking drugs, murder them. Okay, 7,000 people have been murdered since Duterte was elected last year. And so it's cause for concern. I totally understand why people are worried about it. I think there are other ways to battle terrorist groups, but this is what's happening in the Philippines. Anyway, guys, we got to go. Thank you so much for watching. For our members, stick around. We will have a post-game show. And for everyone else, have a great night. We will see you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.